Do you know the clearest sign of a person who prefers silence? It isn't that they have nothing to say. It isn't that they are weak, cold, or socially awkward. It is that they have learned to hear too much. They hear the true tone hidden behind your sweet lies. They notice a single blink, a split-second hesitation before someone begins to put on an act. They feel the suffocating tension in a room before anyone even opens their mouth. Look, imagine sitting in a high-stakes meeting, at a chaotic dinner table, or in the middle of a loud social gathering. People around you are talking, laughing, interrupting each other, desperately fighting to win an argument just to prove they are right. And you are just there, quiet, watching, listening, not because your mind is empty, but because it is processing a massive tidal wave of data. Someone says something that disrespects your dignity. Someone deliberately misunderstands you. Someone takes words and forces them into your mouth. Years ago, you might have fought back instantly. You would have explained every single detail, pouring out your life force, driven by the naive hope that they would finally understand you. But now, you simply look straight at them, give a faint smile, and say, "All right, I understand." To the outside world, that silence looks passive, even submissive. But the truth is far more complex. People who prefer silence do not run away from life. They are protecting their inner world from noise that adds absolutely zero value to it. Their silence is not an empty void. It is a filter, a shield, a quiet form of intelligence. They choose silence not because they lack thoughts, but because they know a fundamental truth. Not every thought deserves to be handed out to people who are simply not ready to understand it. But here is where it becomes truly ruthless. The exact same silence that protects you is also the very thing that is slowly isolating you. You stop explaining. You stop asking. You stop showing people the parts of you that are silently bleeding. And slowly, the world starts to believe the cold, voiceless version of you that never speaks. So, the real question is not, why are some people so quiet? The real question is, when did silence become the only place left on earth where they felt safe? People who prefer silence are not empty. They are often overloaded, deeply observant, and quietly protective of their inner world. But the real question is this: is your silence giving you peace, or is it slowly turning into isolation? My name is FILEX, and I spend far too much time thinking about why humans feel, react, and protect themselves in ways that sometimes they themselves don't even understand. We live in a world designed for those who love to speak. Society glorifies the loud, the people who know how to command the spotlight, the ones who effortlessly work a room, and those who showcase an endless stream of a highly curated life on social media. Because of this, an adult who chooses silence is almost always misjudged. People who prefer quiet are labeled as distant, arrogant, or cold. Introverts are called unapproachable. Those who fiercely guard their boundaries to preserve their mental health are called selfish. And if you are someone who chooses not to post your private life online, society often assumes your existence is mundane, lacking anything worthwhile to display. But the truth is much more intricate. Right now, I want us to challenge a deeply rooted, flawed societal belief. A silent person is not a weak person, and a quiet person is not a boring person. Behind an adult who chooses silence, behind a soul that constantly starves for quiet spaces, lies a profound psychological mechanism. It is an intense, high-powered internal world running at maximum capacity, one that the outside world is completely blind to. To truly comprehend the psychology of someone who prefers silence, we must look at the biological and psychological infrastructure beneath the surface. The issue is that our brains process environmental stimulus in vastly different ways. For an extroverted individual, external stimuli, loud music, constant chatter, bright lights, act as fuel. The more they engage, the more energized they become. But for those who crave silence, their nervous system is wired to be highly sensitive. For them, every ambient sound, every piercing glance, and every drop of negative energy or manipulation from others is a massive tidal wave of data crashing directly into their brain. When an adult spends years living or working in a highly chaotic or toxic environment, Whether it's a corporate workplace rife with political mind games or a personal relationship characterized by emotional instability, they unconsciously turn their radar station to its highest frequency just to survive. This radar never stops scanning. It constantly asks, is my boss angry today? Is my coworker sabotaging me? Is my partner about to snap? When a nervous system is forced to stay on red alert indefinitely, neural burnout is inevitable. In these moments, silence becomes the ultimate survival mechanism. It is the act of pulling up the drawbridge to prevent the raging storms outside from collapsing the fragile ecosystem within. Look, this is what most people fail to understand. There is a monumental difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is the painful feeling of rejection, the ache of wanting connection but being unable to find it. Solitude, however, is a voluntary choice to be alone to find safety and restore one's energy. Adults who prefer silence are not necessarily lonely. They crave silence because they desperately need a safe harbor sanctuary where they don't have to perform, where they don't have to live up to anyone else's expectations, and where they can finally stop putting on a show for the world. They desire authenticity over performance. Let's look at a few real-life snapshots. You might recognize a version of yourself or someone close to you in these stories. Consider the woman who is a dedicated manager, highly efficient and well-respected. Yet, every single day during lunch, while her colleagues gather to gossip, network, and dissect the latest trending shows, she chooses a secluded corner of a quiet cafe. She puts on her noise-canceling headphones and simply stares out the window. Onlookers might think she is antisocial, elitist, or snobbish. But what they don't see is that she spent her entire morning saying, "It's no problem," while quietly carrying the emotional weight of her team. For her, superficial small talk isn't a break. It's an agonizing workout that drains the final drops of her mental battery. She doesn't hate her coworkers. She is simply performing emergency maintenance on her nervous system, so she doesn't crash before 5 p.m. Or look at the man who never posts his travels on social media. He doesn't check in at luxury hotels or broadcast his life status updates. His friends playfully tease him, calling him a ghost or a caveman. But what is the reality? When he stands on a desolate beach watching the sunrise or sits under a canopy listening to the rain fall in a forest, he chooses to keep his phone in his pocket. He wants to keep that sacred moment entirely for himself. He feels absolutely no urge to trade his lived experience for the cheap currency of likes or validation from strangers. For him, the value of life lies in the deep, unadulterated connection with the present moment, not in its market value on the exchange of public attention. Then there is the person who avoids marital or family arguments at all costs. The moment a voice is raised, the second hurtful words enter the room, they choose to shut down or walk away. You might assume they are cowardly, passive-aggressive, or giving toxic, silent treatment. But the psychology behind it is much deeper. This person avoids confrontation because they grew up in a household where arguments didn't lead to resolution. They led to blood, tears, and emotional devastation. To them, a loud argument is not a disagreement. It is a traumatic trigger that sends their nervous system into total freezing mode. They stay silent not because they lack a voice, but because they know that speaking in that chaotic state will only destroy what remains of the relationship. They choose silence to preserve a shred of dignity. Right now, you might be thinking, well, what's wrong with that? I'm an adult. I have the right to choose silence. It's my boundary. It's how I heal. But let me be completely, uncomfortably honest with you. As someone walking beside you on this journey of self-discovery, I refuse to romanticize your pain. We need absolute radical honesty here. Not all adult silence is a healthy boundary, and not every retreat is an act of healing. There is a terrifyingly thin line between choosing silence for genuine inner peace and choosing silence out of emotional paralysis. Ask yourself this question. When you choose to step back into the quiet, what does it feel like inside? If the feeling is one of relief, grounding, and rejuvenation, a space where your battery refills so that you can eventually step back out and connect with the world lovingly, then yes, it is a healthy boundary. It is true healing. But if you choose silence because you are harboring deep resentment, silent rage, or a sense of profound helplessness, if you are thinking, no one cares anyway, even if I speak, no one will understand, so I might as well just disappear, then your silence is no longer a shield. It has become a cage. That isn't healing. That is avoidance. That is fear running your life. You are using silence as a weapon to punish the world, or worse, to punish yourself for not fitting in. That kind of silence will never grant you peace. It will only rot into chronic loneliness and isolation. This brings us to the deepest layer of the psychology of silence, an insight that might shake the very foundation of how you view your life. The dangerous thing is not that you enjoy being alone. The dangerous thing is when you can no longer tell if you are alone because you are at peace, or because you have completely lost your faith in humanity. The dangerous thing is not that you are quiet in meetings or relationships. The dangerous thing is that you have allowed past trauma to convince you that your voice doesn't matter, to the point where you believe your thoughts, your pain, and your dreams are not worthy of being heard. You have stripped away your own right to speak before anyone else could even try to silence you. And what is the ultimate tragedy of chronic silence? When you normalize silence as an adult, you slowly forget how to connect. You stand behind that thick glass wall, watching life pass you by, feeling perfectly safe but utterly weightless, like a ghost. You aren't hurt, yes, but you also cannot feel the intoxicating joy of being understood. You cannot feel the warmth of an emotional embrace, and you miss out on the breathtaking beauty of having someone look at the rawest, most beautifully broken parts of who you are and say, I see you, and you are safe here. You have traded the magic of human connection for the sterile safety of total isolation. If you recognize yourself as an adult who defaults to silence, and you want to rebalance your world, here are 4 practical, small, yet incredibly potent steps you can implement starting today. Step 1. Ask the core question. Every single time you feel the urge to retreat or shut down, pause for 3 seconds and ask yourself, what is this behavior trying to protect me from right now? Are you pulling away because you genuinely need to recharge, or are you pulling away because you are terrified of rejection or confrontation? Simply naming the underlying emotion strips away its power, allowing you to choose your response consciously rather than letting old wounds drive the vehicle. Step 2. Signal a boundary instead of ghosting. Instead of vanishing into thin air, turning off your phone, and leaving the people who care about you in a state of anxiety or misunderstanding, practice the 5-second signal. Send a brief message. I've had an overwhelming day and I need some quiet time to recharge my battery. I'll get back to you tomorrow. This takes almost no energy, but it establishes your safety while maintaining a healthy bridge to the outside world. You don't have to completely disappear to find peace. Step 3. Use the time buffer phrase. When a boss, a colleague, or a partner pushes you into a corner or demands an immediate response, your sensitive nervous system might short-circuit. Don't force yourself to fake a polite answer, and don't storm out in silence. Use this anchor phrase. This is an important matter. I need a little time to process it properly, and I will get back to you with my thoughts later. This instantly creates a legal, respectful boundary, giving you the quiet space you need to think without the suffocating pressure of an immediate reaction. Step 4. The 5-minute brain dump. Dedicate just 5 minutes a day to absolute, unfiltered silence. No phone, no music, no books. Just you and a piece of paper. Write down every chaotic, ugly, or beautiful thought floating in your mind. It doesn't need to be poetic. No one else will ever read it. By letting your internal voice bleed onto the page, you are retraining your subconscious to understand a fundamental truth. Your voice carries weight, it has value, and most importantly, it is finally being listened to by you. My friend, if you have sat with me until these final moments of the video, I want to virtually reach across this screen, acknowledge your silence, and tell you something vital. You are not broken. You are not too sensitive. You are not strange just because you require more space than others, or because you cannot find fulfillment in the hollow noise that the crowd chases. You are simply someone who had to build emotional armor far too early in life. armor so thick that this loud, chaotic world can feel incredibly claustrophobic. But from this moment onward, your journey of healing is not about forcing yourself to become a louder, more palatable version of yourself just to make society comfortable. Your journey is about learning how to return to who you are, calmly, clearly, and authentically. Let your silence be your greatest superpower, the very birthplace of your wisdom and deep empathy, rather than a dark bunker born of fear. If this video made you see a hidden part of yourself today, please leave a comment below. What did you realize about your own relationship with silence? Is your quiet space a sanctuary of peace, or is it a wall of isolation? I genuinely want to hear your story in the quietest way possible. And if you want to continue exploring the deeper matrices of human psychology, decoding behaviors, and healing ancestral wounds with me, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss our upcoming journeys. Thank you for sharing this quiet space with me today. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.